I will be discussing archaea, bacteria, and fungi. Let's get into this video. So, the domain of archaea wasn't recognized as a major domain of life until quite recently, I'm not gonna lie. Until the 20th century, most biologists consider all living things can be considered or classified as either plant or animal. But in the 1950s and the 1960s, most biologists came to realization that this system failed to show recognition to fungi, protists, and bacteria. But we're only going to talk about bacteria, archaea, and fungi. By the 1970s, the system of 5 kingdoms had came to accepted by as a model of all living things must be classified. The fundamental levels were between prokaryotic bacteria and eukaryotic. And for eukaryotic kingdoms, plants considered as plants, animals, fungi, and protists. The district recognizes the common traits that eukaryotic organisms had, such as the nucleus, cytoskeletons. I'm not saying it right, but international membranes. The scientist communities were understandably shocked in the late 1970s by discovering the entire new group of organisms that just surprised them all in general. They just wasn't ready for that. So let's talk about the difference between bacteria. We're going to watch this little quick video and show you exactly the difference before we get into it.
If you mention the name Carl Woese to most biology students, you may draw a blank stare. In reality, modern classification had a paradigm shift and added a third domain thanks to his work. He was the first to show how archaea organisms are not bacteria nor a eukaryote, but a completely different domain of organisms. Let's take a look at how bacteria and archaea are different. One of the first things you will learn about archaea is that many live in extreme environments, like deep hydrothermal vents or in hot springs. Now this is true, but they can also be found living next to bacteria in your gut. Archaea do share many similarities with bacteria, which may cause you to think that they are the same organism. They are single-cell organisms. They do not contain a nucleus nor membrane-bound organelles, and they do reproduce asexually. However, there are some important differences. First, the cell walls of bacteria and archaea are different. Bacteria cells have walls that contain peptidoglycan. Archaea cells do not contain peptidoglycan in their cell wall. Cells have membranes that surround them and allow materials in and out and separate them from their environment. The plasma membrane of archaea use isoprene chains instead of the fatty acid chain which are found in bacteria. The enzymes that read the genetic code in archaea are different than the enzymes that read the genetic code in bacteria. I find this interesting. To date, no archaea are found to cause disease in humans. Some diseases we know that we get are caused by a bacterial infection. As a result of these differences, and several others, modern classifications changed and a third domain was added, and we now have 3 domains: bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. Thanks for watching, and Moo Moo Math uploads a new math and science video.
Hearing about bacteria and archaea and how they can be mostly compared to being the same, but actually somewhat still being different. Let's talk about fungi. Let's watch a video on fungi.
Check out these mushrooms. Mushrooms belong to their own group of organisms called fungi. They grow in soil and don't move about like animals. In fact, many years ago, scientists used to classify fungi as plants. But when scientists observed mushrooms closely, they found some important ways in which they are different to plants. They can't photosynthesize and lack the distinguishing features of plants, such as stems, leaves, flowers, or fruits. Mushrooms now belong to their very own group, called fungi. About 50,000 different kinds have been discovered. Some common fungi are puffballs, bracket fungi, molds, mildews, and truffles. Fungi come in a variety of shapes and sizes. Most are multicellular, but some, like yeasts, are unicellular. Unable to photosynthesize, fungi get the energy they need by breaking down the remains of plants and animals. Organisms that get their energy in this way are called decomposers. Decomposers play an important role in an ecosystem by helping to recycle dead organisms into nutrients in the soil. Unlike plants, fungi do not produce seeds. Most fungi reproduce by releasing microscopic spores into the air. New fungi grow from the spores. Like bacteria, some fungi can be harmful to other organisms by causing infections and diseases. When mold grows on our food, the food spoils and cannot be eaten. Fungi are also important to people. Mushrooms, for example, are an important source of food. Other types of fungi, such as yeast, are used in the production of different foods. Fungi also provides people with medicines. Penicillium is a type of mold that is used to make penicillin. Learning about mushrooms was really cool. I think they're starting to grow on me.
So when you look at it, well, this is just a drawing, but this is an example of exactly what it would look like. It will be tiny. The size of it will be actually 1,100,000 millimeters of size. Even under a microscope, if you was to look at it, it would look like a tiny little dot. So when you see the physical features of an eukaryotic cells, it will have one or more phalange attached to it, or sometimes it will lack one altogether. But a phalange is a hair-like string right here, usually moving around frequently. It's never staying still. That's how you can tell if it's a eukaryotic cell. Sometimes it will have multiple present, but in my drawing it just has two. But usually these are just the protein networks which the cell uses anchors along themselves in large groups to move around. So, for example, if you was to see this under a microscope, it would look, let me bring up one. It would look like a coccus, like a circle. It would be shaped as in a coccus, attached to one another if it was more than one in a cell, or shown up under a microscope. Eukaryotics do not have inner membranes. Their DNA exists as a single loop called a plasmid. However, the tRNA usually has numbers of features that are different from all other living things. tRNA molecules are important because it decodes the message of DNA in building a protein in a cell. Certain features of the structure are some in bacteria, plants, animals, fungi. Some not in bacteria, but some is. It is true that it does have ribosomes and its giant processing molecules that assemble proteins for the cell. It is sometimes sensitive to certain chemical inhibiting agencies. It doesn't mix with everything, so it makes it just a certain, but it does actually have a close relationship with eukaryotic and eukaryotic cells sometimes, but not all the time. But they do have a cell membrane that serves as a barrier between the cell and its environment. It is within the cytoplasm where the living features of the eukaryotic take place, and where the DNA is actually located in there. So, my little dot right here, you could say that right there is my nucleus or my cell membrane. And then my cell wall is usually the layer that helps the cell maintain its shape in the cell. In the chemical and umbilical Usually it ranges from 3 different ranges. The bacteria of all living other things. Sometimes it is in different things like water. You just got to be aware. Now the next one we're going to talk about is bacteria. Now you're going to say that it is actually somewhat similar to our eukaryotic one, but bacteria, they're somewhat different because this one doesn't actually have certain things as the other one does. Okay, but back to bacteria. So bacteria is, okay, so here's some information about bacteria. Bacteria is a single-cell microorganism that lacks a nuclear membrane and is motoactive when dividing in barriers of fusion. Medically, a major case of diseases. It actually causes a lot of diseases when it comes to more like humans, dogs, any other different things. Anything that can affect a human being or anything that's walking or living. Morphology in the shape of a bacterial cell is more of the proper characteristics of particular species. The bacteria cell is not only tells the shape of the size of the physiology of what exactly is about it, but it tells you many things about it, like the mobile of nutritious, the effect of the shape, tells you a lot of things, and the mortality of it. The bacteria cell wall is made of myelin, which is a polymer sugar alternating by NAG linked to NAM, an amino acids pertaining chain. Changing in the polynastics, having a thick, more of like a thick barrier. If you can see right here, it has more of a thick barrier, making it hard for it to die or being able to kill when it comes to treating these things. So that's when, when you get sick, when you go to the doctor, that's when, if you have like a bacteria, sometimes you have to go to the doctor or go to the emergency room because some people get sick because it's hard to kill these things because of their thick barrier that you have to go through, which is the cell wall, to get into it to kill the bacteria in the body. It does have, when you do identify these up under a microscope, you will only see one hair-like phalange on it. It wouldn't have two like the eukaryotic. It will only have one. Now, the size of a bacteria can only be 2 micrometers of a dimension of 0.5 microliters too. The bacteria is known as a display as a wide variety of shapes, sizes. And I'm going to show you a picture exactly what that looks like up under a microscope. Up under a microscope, this is exactly what you would see rods. Sometimes these are the rods, and sometimes you would see the coccus. Coccus is a little saw shape, and it will be something like this. A coccus is these right here. And these are different little things that you will see up under the microscope when it pertains to bacteria. Bacteria has at least 3 different identifications of shapes that you would notice up under a microscope. And this is one of them, and this is one of them. So A, B, C, D. These are all different kinds of types you would see up under a microscope with bacteria. Yeah. Let's just go ahead and get on into this one right here. Fungi ain't like these two right here, okay? Fungi is a eukaryotic that digests food extremely and absorbs nutrients directly into the cell walls. Most fungi reproduce by sporants in the body, composed as microtubing through the cells. Fungi has things that can pertain like animals. They obtain carbon and energy from other organisms. Some fungi obtain nutrition from living hosts like plants and animals that would be called biotramphosis. Others obtain nutrients from dead plants and animals that are called spiotramphosis. Some fungi affect a living host by killing the host cells in order to obtain their nutrients too as well. And that would be nitrophosis. Fungi were only considered to be members of the plant kingdom. Only the plant kingdom. That's why I have like a mushroom, because you will only see this in the ground. Pertaining to the other ones, you can find those in different places by like touch and stuff, but fungi, you will only find these in the plant kingdom. Able to locate a bit of fungi picture of what exactly will look like up under a microscope. So we're gonna watch a procedure exactly on how it's done and show you exactly what it will look like. But for my example for the video, this will be done with food, basically. So, hold on one second. Let's get into this video. As we're seeing, he is prepping his slide for the fungi. Oh, and he already wiped it. So this is what it would look like up under the microscope. As you can see, that will be the gram dye of the, that will be the dye. Oh, more visualization of exactly what it would look like. I will be showing bacteria and fungi up under a microscope using the magnification of 400x and 800x and 1600x. And this right here would be the bacteria starting off. Excuse me. Magnification of 16,000. Round shapes and small bacteria. That's where we're going to start. To show a better example of bacteria up under a microscope, this will be an example of E. coli and SRN, Staphylococcus aureus. Gram negative, which will be the pink color coming up. Yes. Well, it looks orange, but it's mostly pink on my side if you look at it. But it's appearing to be orange, but the color will most definitely be pink when shown. This is the magnification at 100. This is 1500. Still appears to be pink, but you will see that they're shaped as rods. I hope that gives a better example of exactly what it will look like up under a microscope for you. In this video, I know we have talked a lot about bacteria, fungi, and eukaryotic cells. I hope that we can retain this information and continue to learn more about different little things in our world. Now, thank you for tuning into this video. May you continue to have a good day and be blessed. Bye-bye. Tuning.